Hi everybody, I hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday and it's a really beautiful day today. So today I wanted to talk about a really important topic, and I'll wait for you guys to come in a little bit. I hope you guys are juicing and taking good health habits like supplements, doing all that good stuff. So welcome. So today I want to talk to you about a really important aspect of understanding our life and the purpose of our life and our energetic expression, and more importantly, the cycles of life and death. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the cycles of life and death in depth, but today I'm going to really talk about something that has to do with fragmentation of the soul. What is fragmentation of the soul? I get this question a lot. And primarily, people that are working on DNA reprogramming and working on deprogramming and deconstructing all of the mind programs of the matrix that have been put in, since birth up until now. A lot of us that are trying to disconnect from that, trying to come into our organic self, is you're faced with the aspect of yourself where you become stuck or blocked during that process because you're still processing from old programs, not coming into new programs. And so in order to heal those blocked programs, stagnant emotions, depression, anxiety, things that don't let you move forward, we need to go on a deep dive to deprogram those programs. And a process occurs called reintegration of the soul as a result of the reintegration of those fragments. And it's really, really important to understand how that works, because if you don't understand it, then you're kind of left and fragmented, and then you don't understand why you can't move past a certain aspect or you can't move forward in your work, and you feel stuck and you're always having that same kind of program surface and surface and surface. So a major deprogramming has to happen, a major healing. It has to open space for this kind of integration. And the integration of the soul is an incredibly important aspect of our healing and our evolution as a soul. As a matter of fact, when we incarnate into this physical plane, it's one of the things that will define whether we move past the physical into other possible dimensions or reincarnate again into the physical and continue experiencing these life experiences. So the question is really, where does awareness play a role? Where does free will play a role? And so the more you understand fragmentation of the soul, the more you can understand at what point we are able to implement that free will. And just like everything in our holographic kind of projection of a reality, this matrix, this illusion of a reality that we're living in, we play a tremendous role in what we're co-creating. And so you got to understand that every choice, every emotion, every expression is creating that next moment, but it's as above, so below. So just the way every thought creates your next moment, as a soul, everything that you're doing in this lifetime will define your next movement forward. Okay, and so as a soul coming into the three-dimensional plane, there's something that occurs, is what that's called fragmentation. And so when the soul becomes fragmented, it basically expands and disperses into multiple aspects of itself, which are stuck within these many layers of, all within your multidimensional body, fragments of yourself which are tied to other aspects, to other organic aspects, other bodies, other souls, not bodies necessarily. I'm talking about organisms, right? We are creating energetic ties to one another with all the experiences that we're sharing here as a whole. We're sharing information, throwing back and forth experiences and expressions of our journey. And all of those energetic ties are because we are a vibrational match to one another in experiencing those things. So what is fragmentation? When we experience a traumatic experience, or we begin to feel helpless in any way, we become fragmented. When we feel helpless, or we believe that we are alone, isolated, individual, This is the belief system that occurs when we are stuck in an exchange, in an experience. Something happens to us. We don't know how to navigate that experience, mostly because of the disconnect from ourselves. And as children, it's an unawareness, and not realizing that we are whole, okay? Because we believe the illusion that we are separate. And the illusion, or the programs and thoughts that make us believe that we're separate, are happening to us by the programming of the matrix. Okay, what do I call the matrix? All of the compartmentalization of belief, of the self, of ideas, of society, so on and so forth. All of that compartmentalization of things, which are basically grouping things as separate, making us believe that we're separate from ourselves and the things around us, is what I call a matrix overlay that causes this belief system of the illusion of separation. But in that, this occurs on many different layers, not just externally, but internally. It is a compartmentalization of our emotions, of our expressions, of our identity. Okay, so then the identity becomes fragmented. So when we experience trauma in this sense, and we begin to feel helpless and overwhelmed, and we don't know how to navigate those experiences, there is a disconnect between the mind and the body that creates a disassociation with that timeline, with that moment. And the disassociation happens in the mind, but it manifests into the physical, because that aspect of yourself that is experiencing helplessness, confusion, loss, separation, lowers its frequency to such a level that the wavelength of that frequency of yourself in that moment becomes extremely slow, and a very wide, slow, heavy frequency. And of course, we know that as fear, fear and all of these heavy emotions that bring the organism into a very slow frequency. And so what happens is that it becomes stagnant. It doesn't move. When this frequency becomes stagnant, it then becomes separate. It believes, the thought form believes that it's separate. And so the soul in itself, as a vibrational frequency, detaches from its whole. And this vibrational frequency is basically stuck, not moving. Okay, it's a fragment of ourself. Everything is energy. So when we fragment an energetic aspect of ourself becomes stagnant in these vibrational timelines. What is a timeline? A timeline is a possible action, a possible expression, an opportunity. It is a choice. Okay, so when we make the choice to behave in a certain way, or to believe something, or to feel something, thought, emotion, action, that choice creates a timeline. And that timeline is basically the expression, the energetic expression of yourself that is left in that moment. So when we experience that trauma, that aspect of ourselves energetically detaches from the whole. We are the whole. We are the whole as source, infinite consciousness. We are the soul, and it detaches from us and is left energetically in that timeline. And this becomes a reference point, okay, for ourselves through life, because it now turns into a program. Anything that was created during the experience of feeling separate or unwhole now becomes a reference point of belief. So now a future experience happens in which triggers something that goes around the vicinity of this vibrational frequency, and it can be anything within the ranges of the frequencies that you felt in that event, will trigger you to reconnect with that reference point. And so what happens is that then we pull from that reference point into the present moment, and we act upon what is known from that reference point. Okay, from the psychological aspect, you can imagine this or visualize it like filing cabinets of information that a file is referencing a certain experience. But what happens when we experience a tremendous amount of trauma is that oftentimes the trauma is so overwhelming that we completely disconnect from that event. We don't want to ever feel, because we are not sure how to navigate that traumatic experience. So we disassociate completely, and the mind blocks it off and doesn't allow the access to that memory. And so in hypnosis, this is why hypnosis is a powerful tool to allow you to go deeper and to access the subconscious mind when you're not able to access this in meditation. Ideally, we should be able to self-enter into these depths of our own subconscious mind and be able to work with them by addressing and working with the layers of information that we're peeling as we're becoming aware of ourselves and, doing that inner work. The inner work means that you're becoming aware of yourself through those past experiences, and you're understanding the blockages and the fragmentation that occurred to you. But that doesn't necessarily happen if you created a disassociation to that event, and so these memories become suppressed. What are memories? Memories are vibrational frequency. They are reference points of vibrational frequency, and they have a physical, anatomical aspect, and they have a non-physical aspect. And that's something that we're not very aware of. We become aware of that through our triggers, because when something triggers us emotionally, we're also going to feel a trigger, a response in the physical body. The problem is that most of us are not fully aware and in our body enough to recognize that connection. And so we disconnect from the body and we just act out in a reactionary way, utilizing the aspect of ourself that's in a state of survival mode, which is only going to pull from that reference point. Okay, so our survival instinctual aspect of ourselves, the mind, the reptilian mind, the analytical mind that only wants to reference that superficial information that is available to us through trigger points, is available at that point. Now, a lot of processes happened from the point of trauma to the point of the execution of an emotion as a reaction to a trigger. Okay, a lot happens because a lot of self-preservation has to happen, and because the body felt so disconnected, disassociated, traumatized, and disconnected from themselves and didn't know how to navigate that experience, we subconsciously create a lot of blockages and layers of emotions to preserve ourselves on multiple levels. Emotionally, physically, mentally, in every different way, we are preserving ourselves. And so sometimes it's going to take layers of deprogramming and uncovering those layers of vulnerability in order to tackle and get into that root cause. Now, the fragmentation of the soul really occurs at that point, and I wrote this all down. I'm going to put this on my website so you guys can reference it later. So at the time of fragmentation, one needs to disassociate from the experience because it was unfamiliar as to how to navigate that. So this trauma is manifested as a cyclical trauma. And so what happens is that when we experience a traumatic experience, like I was mentioning, not only are we pulling from what's occurring here in this timeline, these kinds of cyclical patterns and all the experiences that you're experiencing in this lifetime are a holographic projection of all the information that is in your DNA, your ancestral lineage, okay, and yourself as a soul, as a much larger organism in your own journey for self-discovery and self-exploration, okay? When you incarnate into the physical body, you're attached to the network that connects you to your father and your mother lineage, and all that information is feeding in programs that you are manifesting as you learn them, as you implement them, as you make them your own, as you adapt them as a part of your belief systems. And so what happens is that we experience from what is known. So deprogramming requires us to revisit all of those programs that are literally within our DNA, within the structures of our beliefs, and begin to peel the layers of those belief systems in order to find out what we truly are. And this is a process as part of reintegration of the soul. When we uncover all of those layers of fragmentation that occurs from us, we are able to identify the true core blueprint, per se, or the divine design of this infinite consciousness that you are. Now, what is infinite consciousness? Infinite consciousness is not defined as good and bad. It's here to experience all possible experiences within all of these possible expressions of the human and the non-human aspect, the non-physical aspect of ourselves. So the work that we're doing here is not just in the physical plane. It's, as I mentioned before, in dream time and in death. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. When we are reintegrating our soul and we are healing those aspects of ourselves, we are not only accessing fragments of ourselves, but collective fragments that are connected and programmed in the DNA. So hypnosis, for example, when you go into hypnosis, you are revisiting a memory. Okay, this is a vibrational frequency. It is a reference point, a vibrational reference point. That's what I call memories. Memories are vibrational reference points. And so those vibrational reference points are aspects of yourself that are a part of your whole. And so when you begin to reintegrate or solve or resolve those experiences by becoming aware of them through this memory aspect, you are able to take back and heal fragments of yourself from that moment. And reintegration of the soul is incredibly important to healing. We cannot heal the body, we cannot heal the mind and reprogram new belief systems without reintegration of the soul. Because what happens is that if we don't fully become aware of the aspects of ourselves that are fragmented, we are always going to subconsciously be pulling to those reference points. Okay, subconsciously pulling to those reference points. And so then, you know, there's a disconnect. We're not able to go back to the true self. We are lost. Our true blueprint of who we are as infinite consciousness is fragmented, deeply fragmented within this matrix multiverse. And another thing that occurs is that when we have children or when we, procreate, an aspect of our soul also goes into this next new life. And so we are seeding within them and prolonging the programs that have not been resolved within us. So our children become an extension of those programs. Okay, and so the lineage resolves, and every new life, every new soul that comes into a network, a family that reincarnates into a network of a family, is an opportunity to heal and to reintegrate this fragmentation, the collective fragmentation that happened between yourself and all of these souls that you're sharing. You're not sharing. They are you and you are them, okay? And me and you that are here watching this video, all of us are fragments of one, okay? So the healing that we do, this is why I say this, and it might sound very cliche, but the healing that I do for myself is the healing for the collective. The healing that you do for yourself is the healing for your family, your lineage, and the collective. This awareness is very important because it is the design of this entire reality that we're living in. As a matter of fact, we look to ourselves within us as fragments of fractals of infinite consciousness, but to look above us to the creation of this entire matrix multiverse. When Sophia was created, what was Sophia? Sophia wanted to be individual, a separate aspect from source. And so then it wants to exercise its creative ability and breathes life into these other beings, which then are now taking that creative life force away from her. And she becomes this aspect that now requires these other beings in order to survive, because she rejects her own consciousness. And so therefore the evolution of this entire multiverse is created, where we are moving between these polarities of life creation and destruction, or lack of consciousness and lack of consciousness. Anytime that we choose to reject our consciousness, we become parasitic in a sense. We require from external sources in order to thrive, in order to create an identity to keep us alive. And the life force that's running through us, we reject that. Okay, and how do we make this real now? How do we bring this to present day? In that same way, when we are having a traumatic experience, we forget ourselves in that within us are all the tools to navigate the experiences that we're going through. And all possible experiences that we are having as a collective and as an individual, we would never experience anything that we're not capable of handling, or that we didn't co-create somehow from the deepest reaches of our subconscious mind. So therefore, the whole concept of fear really comes into question. What's the purpose of experiencing this fear when we are collectively co-creating all of these experiences, even if they are seemingly the most horrendous experience to the most beautiful experience? We are experiencing polarity, okay? Now, when we reintegrate the soul from these traumatic experiences, it is the awareness that heals. It is the awareness that reintegrates the soul. The awareness of you as not a separate entity, not a fragmented entity, not a helpless individual that is away from creation or the ability to create. I did a video on creative life force a couple days ago, which I would invite you to reference just to understand the dynamics of how we come into creation. But the creative aspect of ourselves is our natural blueprint. Any time that we reject that is when we reject our consciousness. Anytime that we believe that we are not worthy, unlovable, helpless, whatever it is, any kind of emotion that makes you feel that you're not worthy of yourself or accepting yourself as this creative life force, you are literally rejecting your consciousness. And so what has to happen is parasitic manifestation of that rejection, which becomes very low vibrational frequency emanations from yourself that are created through fragmentation. And multiple fragmentation creates a webs of fragmentation much deeper into the matrix, deeper into this holographic co-creation that we're creating. How do we create that? You are a multidimensional body, and every single reference point that you create through your experiences is an aspect, is a point of reference that ties you to that moment in time. That vibrational frequency of yourself is moving really slow, so it's holding you back. Your vibrational frequency is movements of light, movements of wavelength, the frequency, and it's information. So as a whole, your entire vibrational signature becomes slow, stagnant. You can't move because you are so full of these reference points that pull you back to these belief systems and emotional frequency wavelengths that don't allow the human body to move and progress and evolve as it naturally is designed to move. Now, we are in the three-dimensional plane, so the whole purpose of being in the physical plane is to experience the physical, the emotions. We are here to experience polarity. But in that, we are also here to experience that in order to learn how to reintegrate from that fragmentation. And the reintegration of the soul has to occur by reintegrating those reference points. Healing, how do you do that? You have to return to those reference points and change the vibrational frequency of that reference point. How do you do that? Right now, that reference point is slow. You have to raise the frequency of that reference point into a very high frequency so that it moves, so that it's now faster flowing. And it then moves and reattaches to yourself as a part of your whole and is not energetically tying you back to those many, many points of reference that you are connected to as a soul. Now, this occurs in this current timeline, but as a soul that has been reincarnating, and I don't want to say has been reincarnating, because time is not linear. We are basically like this consciousness, this infinite consciousness that is fragmented through multiple possibilities. And there are aspects of yourself that are living out other possible timelines. As a matter of fact, every possible option that you consider is a timeline that is being lived out energetically. And we live out all of those possible timelines. We live them all the way out through. And that information is available to us if we tap into those possible timelines. So this happens in the present moment, and it also happens to all the fragments that we've had in the past or in the future. Okay, so for example, extraterrestrial fragments of yourself as Cleopatra, fragments of yourself as King Arthur, all of these archetypes that our mind creates as compartmentalized information when we come into the three-dimensional plane are reference points of opportunity for transmutation, transformation of stagnant in energy. Okay, so those reference points must be changed and shift into a high vibrational frequency. Archetypes are basically compartmentalized thought forms or expressions of known. We recognize them within this physical plane, within the matrix. Okay, all of that is part of the matrix overlay. You got to understand that when we become fragmented, it is part of the matrix overlay. So fragmentation is the design of the matrix overlay. When we are not reintegrating fragments of our soul, we reconnect over and over through every choice we make to the matrix and basically get stuck there. It's like we are leaving fragments of our soul there. Now, I want to just add a layer to this just because, I talk about the hybridization program, and because I want to give you a much larger vision of what's happening here and the overlays of reality, okay? In the hybridization program, we are taken unconsciously, okay, during dream time and used to reproduce. Why? Because our DNA is holding on to massive amounts of information that then takes a fragment of that soul in order to create another life. This is also another way of fragmentation of the soul. Any child that we bear, whether it's in this dimension, another dimension, is a tie to the physical matrix overlay. So the more that we are fragmented, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly, we are tying ourselves deeper and deeper in attachment to the matrix multiverse, to this overlay matrix that we're connected to. And so really our level of awareness has to happen in such depth that we are reintegrating the soul from multiple layers. In dream time, we are not attached to the physical, so we have the ability of moving on these other dimensional planes in which fragmentation also occurs. Your dreams are landscapes in which we are expressing and also experiencing possibilities. And even though it might not translate as that in your mind, it might be an image of something that doesn't quite fit with your reality or your perception, what's actually happening there is an exchange of consciousness as well. And so the level of awareness that we want to reach with reintegration of the soul is one in the physical, in dream time, and even in death. Okay, now we're going to talk about life and death. What happens when we go through the cyclical cycles of reincarnation? You have this one lifetime from conception into your death, your physical death, in order to reintegrate as many fragments of your soul. Why? Because your life is a vibrational expression. You are like a crystal. Crystals, they are constantly storing information within them, and they are also giving out information. So the more information that we store within the body and the more that is fragmented of this body, it's like you break a crystal, and in the little fragments of the crystal is your information. So you have to pick up yourself from that, okay? Now, when we talk about becoming whole, you are reintegrating those vibrational signatures. You are transforming low frequency waves into high frequency waves in order to come in to be a match of yourself. This is how you become whole. This is how you reintegrate. How you change and raise your frequency is by deprogramming the fragments of the past and the future. Whatever it is that you're moving through at any given time, you have the opportunity. You're only going to truly change and embody a high frequency if you are not made up of old reference points. Okay, this is why deprogramming is essential to the integration of the soul and to raising the frequency. It's not just a matter of embodying happiness right now or joy or making yourself believe that you're happy. There has to be, because this is great if you embody that organically, but the problem is that we are very complex multidimensional beings, and what feeds into the present moment, into your every next experience, is the programs in the subconscious mind. So as much as you can believe that you're very happy and joyful and loving and giving to others, the things that propel you into those actions might not be the organic and neutral whole 0 point self. It might be reference points from the past. And so this is why working with trauma and the aspects of ourselves that are blocking us are key. Now, another thing is, okay, you've done a lot of work. Now you still feel stuck. You don't know how to move forward. So these blockages occur when we are constantly referring back to these reference points again. Okay, so now you understand you are not the physical, you are not this body, you are a multidimensional being. But in reality, if you would really see yourself, you are references of vibrational frequency. Okay, so when we are our vibrational signature, our whole vibrational organism has a certain vibrational signature, and that vibrational signature is made up of those belief systems, of those reference points, of the transformation from those reference points. That's what your expression is. So we have this entire lifetime of experiences and possibilities to recollect all of those fragments of ourselves. Just like light, white light, when it comes in through a prism, it fragments into a spectrum of light. Right now, you are that fragmented spectrum of light. And when you reintegrate fragments of your soul, you are slowly bringing yourself back into that white light. What is that white light? That white light is unconditional love. It is a frequency of creation. It is the creator self. Okay, so in this whole lifetime, whatever time you leave the physical body, any time that you pass away into another dimensional plane, leaving the physical shell, whatever vibrational frequency you had, your vibrational signature dictates where you're going to go next, where the soul will journey to next. If you are a vibrational match to this dimension in the physical, which is a slower vibrational frequency, you will reintegrate. You will come back and reincarnate into this physical plane. If you are elevating and reintegrating yourself on a deep level, you will be a match for other possibilities. And this is when you can apply the free will. The application of free will has to happen constantly from all of our lifetime. Just because as a child you didn't think that you had the tools, going back to those childhood experiences and becoming aware through your fragments transforms the vibrational frequency that your past had on you. Again, time is not linear. Time is not in the past is not something far away in distance. It's right here, right now. When you don't address those fragments, you're living the past right now. Your past is creating this moment and the future. And in the same way, your entire lifetime will dictate your next vibrational match. Now, we talk about the reincarnation cycle and what they call the death trap, the term the death trap, which talks about when you die, you see a white light that makes you go into that white light to, process or whatever happens after lifetime, after death. But in death, you also have the ability to begin to choose whether you wish to return back or to keep going, or to move, or change your next experiences. It's your level of awareness that will dictate that. A lot of these ancient petroglyphs around the world, these monuments like the pyramids, like many different pyramids, and very divine architecture on our planet, was created primarily in order to study and to train those bodies from life and death. Okay, the Egyptians revered death tremendously, and the reason why is because they knew that free will, the implementation of free will, happened when we embodied full awareness, full integration of the fragments of the soul in order to choose where we are traveling to next. It is a complete understanding of awakening and awareness that has to happen on multiple levels. So right now there are forces in this world, in this matrix multiverse, that are playing out the polarities, the polar, gosh, I don't know how to say it, polaristic, I don't know if that's a word, but they are playing out the polarity, okay, which means that they are the rejection of consciousness. And so they will implement a lot of things to make us sleep, to make us disconnect from the body, to make us disconnect from our core self, to make us disconnect from coming into our awakening. They're going to make us go to sleep through artificial AI, implementation of technology, pulling away from the body, with the food we eat, deconstructing the DNA, destroying the DNA with sugars, with all kinds of artificial food, and all of that affects the body and our ability to reconnect with ourselves. That's why coming back into an organic lifestyle, eating organic food, reconnecting with the body, not being connected to technology all the time, is essential for yourself to apply and become aware and awake. Because all of those things are vibrational frequencies and patterns that are coded with programs to disconnect us from this reconnection and reintegration of fragments of our soul. Okay, now let's take that into another level. Right now, what we're dealing with is we become aware of our soul, or what makes the soul organic and what makes the soul inorganic. Any time that we are rejecting our consciousness, or we are rejecting ourselves, we begin to come into this inorganic self. And what happens is that because we are moving with many different life forms and organisms that are parasitic, that whatever is floating around that is not aware of itself is looking for something else to attach to and feed off of. And these things are entities and attachments. So when we're not aware of our body and we're heavily fragmented, there's a lot of openings for us because we're not in the present moment. We're living from past programs again. And so on an energetic level, your body is wide open. We have holes. Sometimes these holes become, what's the word? Chronic per se. Okay, they're difficult to close because we've created such heavy cords to thought forms and programs that are basically draining our life force in such a way that other organisms come in and can come in and attach to us and feed off our life force. Okay, so this is why awareness, and I created GPAC, grounding, protecting, aligning, creating, so you can move into that creative life force of awareness that you're meant and designed to be. If you're not aware of your body, you can be a host for any number of things. And the purpose of a lot of these things that are happening in the world around us, like this kind of, quarantine, first of all, is the first step to implementing a much larger program of the suppression of our organic expression and the application of your free will. Okay, and it's happening on a physical level, and it's been happening for a very long time in numerous different ways, right? We've kind of been building up to this. We've been, this goes into a whole nother thing that actually I'll talk about it tomorrow. Tomorrow night I'm going to be on Cherie's Ascension sessions. You guys can check that out. I'm going to be talking about all of these overlays of information that have been parasitically really working towards compartmentalizing the human as separate away from its connection to its soul self, in a way so that it becomes inorganic. What does that mean? Artificial intelligence. Intelligence that's artificial is anything that is manipulated or driven by another agenda, because it's consciousness that has rejected itself, feeding off something else. So are you that? Okay. Have you turned into a programmable artificial intelligence? Okay. Are you connected to the TV screen, believing everything that they're telling you without thinking, without choosing and applying your free will and coming into an organic self? Okay. Are your thoughts even real? Are your thoughts based on your truths, or are they repeating programs that have been indoctrinated for centuries in this matrix? What are you? Are you an expression of the matrix, or the expression of infinite consciousness and organic life? Okay, so this is really what integration of the soul is all about. And that level of awareness has to happen in the depth and in the now. So let me just make sure that I said everything that I wanted to say here. I'm going to write this and put this on my thing. Okay. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. So the most important part of this that I want to just close with is when we are reintegrating the fragments of our soul. This is when we can apply free will and become this empowered self. And the magical thing about this is when we reincorporate fragments of ourselves as an individual, we are also doing it for a collective, okay? Because we're interconnected. I am you. You are me. You are my mirror. Everything that you're doing is a mirror to parts of myself. Okay, so things that trigger me are things that I see in you that I cannot stand about myself, for example. Things that I love about you are things that I love about myself and that I acknowledge in myself. So we need to start having a more global perspective to everything we do, think, say, and feel, because that's how, that's how serious things are right now. And they're going to get more serious, because as a collective, we're moving into an awakening. And if we don't wake up right now and take ownership of this soul that is infinite consciousness, we're just going into a deeper sleep. Okay, so I'd like to invite all of you. We're just going to do a quick grounding meditation and realignment. We're gonna destroy contractual agreements that are tying you to that. To do reintegration of the soul, I invite you to get a DNA reprogramming with me. Some of you that have been working with me, you can message below how it's helped you or what you think about it. This is very important, and I teach this in all of my sessions. You can learn how to do that reintegration of the soul. So please go ahead and check out some of those other videos. But we're going to start. We're going to inhale deeply and exhale. Bringing ourselves into the present moment, bringing ourselves into the body. We're going to ground ourselves down to the center of the earth. Becoming aware of our energetic bodies. Okay, become aware of your body. Become aware of the back, the front, the feet, the legs, the back of your body. Every part of your body, come into full awareness. Creating a protective field around the body. And that field is just awareness. We're going to start by closing the first chakra, the root chakra at the base of your spine. We are, in order to reset all of the connections that we've made from the root chakra, we're going to close it and that disconnects you from the physical plane. So you're closing the root chakra. Going up to the second chakra, the sacral chakra. Go ahead and close that chakra, the orange light, disconnecting any imbalances of the sacral chakra. You're going to go up to the solar plexus, the yellow light at your center core. Go ahead and close that chakra all the way down to the size of a dime, disconnecting any imbalances in the emotional body. Going up into the heart chakra, you're going to open that chakra as wide as possible, expanding your heart chakra, activating your DNA, activating the higher aspect of yourself. Going up into the throat chakra, open that throat chakra as wide as possible, front and back, activating your communication, your expression. Open up that space. Going up into the third eye, open that chakra as wide as possible, opening the center of intuition. We're going to go up to the crown chakra. Most important, visualize a color that represents your highest vibrational expression. What is that? We're going to put that up in your crown, fill it in. We're going to realign it. We're taking back control of this vessel. So go ahead and fill it in to visualize a wheel with different sections. And I'm going to be naming out the different sections. Everything has to do. And the first section is with your social, your relationships, family, friends, colleagues, partners. Fill that in. The next is intellectual. The next is your health. The next is your financial or abundance. Fill that in. We're talking about energy. Money is energy. So how are you exchanging? And this exchange is energetic and physical. So fill that in. And finally, your life purpose. What are you here to do? Your soul, your spirit, the spiritual work. Fill that in. Okay? Becoming aware of yourself, taking back control, taking back awareness. Inhale deeply and exhale. I want you to tap into your body. Feel your body. What kind of heaviness are you holding in your body? You're going to use your third eye, your intuition, your five senses. Tap into your multidimensional body. Where is there stagnant information? Tap into that. Pull it out of your body. Whatever it is, pull it out. Is it pain in the neck? Is it pain in the back, in the hips, in the legs? Feeling depressed? Look at it. Pull it out of your body. Okay, these are thought forms, and you as the master of your body and your mind, you are in charge and have the ability to move these thought forms out of the body. So I want you to move those bodies of energies out, transmuting them, okay, removing them from your body. Taking a nice cleansing breath after each removal, noticing the shift in vibrational frequency as you have become aware. When you become aware of that stagnant energy, you can transform it, you can transmute it. Okay? Begin to feel lighter and lighter as you unpack all of that unawareness that you've had in that space. When we are not aware of ourselves, those things become programs, and over time they become pain and suffering. They manifest into the physical. So we're removing all that stuff out. Very good. We're going to work with our contractual agreements. Go ahead and visualize a room with all of your contractual agreements. These are all the contractual agreements that you have come into, okay, from this lifetime, all the lifetimes that we're living and expressing through in the present moment. I want you to see that room filled with all those contracts. You might see thousands, you might see a few. It doesn't really matter because we're cycling through information. So go ahead and destroy all of those all of those contracts, as we no longer want to keep tying ourselves back. When we destroy them, we are subconsciously becoming aware on multiple levels. We are also allowing the opportunity for healing, okay? So now that you're beginning to destroy these contracts, keep doing it daily. Reset yourself energetically. So go ahead and destroy them, clear them out, and fill that room up with your crown chakra, which is your vibrational frequency of creation, okay? We're beginning to learn how to speak the language of the matrix. The matrix built itself by its deep awareness of this incredible multidimensionality. So how it works is by inverting those truths to suppress consciousness. How we work is by reversing those inversions and by becoming consciousness. So go ahead and clear all of that out. Fill it in with your color. Okay, you begin to feel lighter. You can breathe. Okay, you are embodying awareness. Very good. So this is how you begin to move the frequency in your body. I want you to tap in to this neutral self, to this awareness, to unconditional love. You're going to go up to your crown. You're going to move it up to the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, all the way up. You are activating the higher chakras of your body, becoming aware. Activating your DNA, activating the information that is within you. And you want to view the world from up here. We don't want to view the world from down here because that just gets us stuck, right? That just ties us like glue to the matrix. Very good. Very good. You're going to inhale deeply and exhale. You're going to open the root chakra. Open that root chakra. Spin it as fast as possible now. And you're going to clear it out. Visualize the holographic chakra that you are rebalancing. I'm going to teach how to holographically rebalance chakras in my upcoming classes that I'm going to have. Go up to your sacral chakra. Open up that chakra. Spin it. Clear it out till it's crystalline orange. Crystalline orange. Go up to your solar plexus. Spin it as fast as possible. Clear it out till it's crystalline yellow. Again, we have this incredible pole of white light that goes through the center of the body and through the crown of the head down to the center of the earth. So as we clear the solar plexus, we're also moving out any debris that are energetically blocking our ability to be grounded, centered in this physical self. Go on to the heart, spin it as fast as possible, realigning. To the throat chakra, spin it as fast as possible, clearing out. The third eye, spinning it. This is maintenance. This is energetic daily hygiene, okay? Just like we brush our teeth, wash our face, take a shower, we have to energetically clear and rebalance the body. Very good. I want to welcome you to come back into the room. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. You guys are amazing. And I did see some questions, so I'm going to scroll back up to the top here. Give me a moment. And I am going to see if I can help answer questions. I think I did see. Vincent, thank you for being here. Dave, Jude, Alexandra, shout out to all of you. Sev, Ewell, hello, Ewell, Patricia, aloha, Dorota, how are you? Ron, Laura, Monica, Helene, hello, Helene. So good to see you. Cedric, peace and energy. Nice to be with you again, Patricia. Alexandra, wow, the synchronicity. I was just looking into why my throat chakra is always off balance, and what came out was fragmentation. I'm aware of my fragment aspects because of some memories of being a hybrid mom. There you go. I've always been fascinated by Sophia and have been reading Peace to Sophia on and off for a while. Beautiful. That's amazing. Yes, absolutely. And that the integration is incredible. When we begin to reintegrate aspects of our soul, you begin to recognize and layers begin to drop. You begin to uncover layers. Some of you that have been working with me, you begin to realize that. Cats, hi. Juan, welcome. Mary, so good to see you. George, something that came up at the reference points of very scary. I managed to sit with them until they dissolve. Sometimes they reappear, sometimes, but easier to deal with. Okay, great. So that's a really great comment. So what happens if these reference points keep reappearing? It's because we haven't dealt with the origin point of it. So it means we got to go deeper, okay? And so what you'll notice is in your everyday life, when you begin to trigger, so basically, how do we know we're fully integrated? We no longer have triggers. Nothing will trigger you. That's how you've come in to this neutral point of integration, okay? Can you reverse your integration? Yes, you can, in a sense, because anytime you start falling back asleep or becoming unaware, you can become fragmented through trauma. Because even if you've reached the highest level of awareness, if you decide to reject your consciousness from that high point, you can always go back to fragmentation. Because again, what's fragmentation? Feelings of helplessness, feelings of low vibrational frequencies that make you feel separate from yourself. Okay, so remember that. So it's a never-ending process. To embody unconditional love is to be in that state of neutrality, and you won't be triggered by anything anymore. Okay, that's how you come into that self. Igor says, oh no, Elizabeth, hi. Ingo says, can you give a practical example on how to relieve a fragmentation and then infuse it to a higher vibration so that I can be reintegrated? Absolutely. And I do this in other practices as well. You just don't know that I'm showing you that. When you're accessing an emotion, pick any emotion today that you felt that caused blockage. Take yourself back to the last time you felt it and to the origin. Try to go back in your memory. Use your memory. And your memory is a combination of physical and non-physical. Again, vibrational reference points. Those vibrational reference points are packed with information. So your emotions right now have the ability, if you sit with them, just like Cedric was saying, to take you back to the origin point. And if you trace it back to the origin point, you will begin to understand how that program was created by beginning to become aware of that experience. What happened in that experience? Who played what role in that experience? How did you feel in that experience? What did you need in that moment in order to not feel that way? When we run through that program, you are allowing yourself, providing yourself with the information necessary to navigate the experience of trauma. What is trauma? Trauma is the belief of being helpless and not having those tools. So you're providing yourself those tools so that you can transmute the energy that occurred, the belief that was created by that experience. You're reversing it. You reverse it by applying vibrationally and emotionally to that fragment all of the tools and all of the things that it required in that moment. And it transforms. You're going to watch it transform before your eyes. You're going to see your fragment come from that depressed state into a brighter, literally it changes color, it changes feeling. That younger self or that older aspect of yourself will transform. So this is how you are transforming the fragments. And now, because you've acknowledged a fragment of yourself, this now you take it as a part of yourself. It's very important to reintegrate it as part of a whole again. So don't forget to do that. And I have that on many of my videos. I have them, I do it all the time actually, because it's the most powerful way to transform and heal the body. Okay? And so when you take in that new fragment, you then become whole and your frequency changes because you've learned about yourself. Very pretty. Thanks so much, Ivan. I appreciate that. Thank you. Ron, Jewel, Rick, good to see you. Natseli Hernandez, Mark, Mary, great to see you. Welcome, welcome. Let me see if I have any more questions, you guys. Joshua, I love your hair like that. Thanks so much. This is my natural curly hair. I appreciate that. Tracy, hi. Paul, Mary, why do we close the lower chakras in meditation? We close them because the first three chakras, when we're not when we're not aware of ourselves, our vibrational frequency is pulling from known programs, and known programs are what are run by the matrix, or this physical expression, experiences that we have, emotional exchanges that we have, and all of those exchanges are coming and functioning through the first three chakras. The first three chakras are what help us navigate the physical plane through our emotions, through our self-awareness or awareness of ourselves as an individual self, and through, of course, our exchange, how we can exchange. So the sexual energy, creative energy, how we are able to exchange energetically with one another. So these are the first three chakras that basically are our connection to the physical plane. So when we are highly connected and entangled, in a sense, energetically with all people, places, things, and we haven't done some hygiene, we're constantly pulling from those old reference points, as I mentioned earlier in this video. So what we do in meditation, in order for you to begin to become aware of yourself as higher consciousness, which you are, is you disconnect temporarily the first three chakras to help you reset, in a sense, the information that's being run back and forth from your body to the external plane. Okay, so you're pulling back yourself, closing the chakras, you're activating heart, throat, and third eye, because a lot of us, we're running around with really imbalanced chakras. Some of us have, for example, who was it that talked about their throat chakra being fragmented? So what's happening is that the chakra is broken up due to trauma and belief systems, or split up or cracked, or there's an entity attachment, or it is closed up and paralyzed, in a sense. So the chakra is the holographic expression of all of the programs and stagnant reference points that are matching its vibrational match. And we'll talk about that in another one, because it's a very complex topic, but we learn about how our emotions and our vibrational frequencies, trauma, is stored within the body. So if it's a throat trauma, meaning, for example, that you weren't allowed to speak out or express yourself as a child, or everybody ignored you as a child, then you're going to have a lot of blockages here. Okay, so the blockage is going to be here, because it's a belief, it's a program that was created from that experience. So that causes fragmentation in this chakra and in the belief systems of this vibrational frequency. This vibrational frequency is expression and communication. Okay, I hope that that's clear. Jessica, thank you so much. This was way lovely. Thank you, Mary. Tamana, feeling the wavelength, like movement of earth lately, almost like it's cradling me, but to a rhythm. And then tune in my ears. Oh my, awesome. I'm so glad you're experiencing those, becoming aware of the wavelengths. Kiran, I have been doing these meditations with you daily. I must say, I have learned so much about me. Thank you so much for helping me. I'm so grateful. You're so welcome, Kiran. Thanks for being here with me. It's my honor to be here. Cedric, vibrational reference points appear frequency during meditation. Yes, they do. And that's the whole point of meditation, that you get to be still with the information that's within you. If we don't have that stillness, we won't be able to do that. Jewel, is it necessary to do energetic alignment cleansing every time after sexual intercourse? Yes. And I'm so happy that you asked that question, because the next one on my list is to talk about womb healing and sexual healing. And I did this video a couple years back, but I will do it again because it's really important. Sexual exchange is really important, because when we connect with another person, we are aligning ourselves and, of course, playing the role of the feminine as the receiver and the man as the provider. Okay, the expression of that. You know, we're playing those roles, both of us, the man and the woman, during sexual intercourse. So there's a lot of exchange of information occurring. So sometimes when we are more receiving, whether it's man or the woman, I'm not talking about the sex, we will take on all of the low frequency information that a partner is holding on to. And of course, it comes in through the womb, because the sacral energy is that sexual creative life force. When it's out of balance, it has to do with passion, with a lot of, you know, insecurities and any kind of inverted aspects of creation. So that means we're taking on those programs in the body, and they become stagnant programs and blockages. You know, so that's in an imbalance. If it's a high vibrational expression and exchange, you know, there is more awareness of boundaries and so on and so forth. So cleansing, cutting cords, taking back your life force, becoming aware of what you took on and what doesn't belong to you is essential in sexual intercourse. Okay, and it happens in whether it's someone you're dating or someone you're married to. This kind of cleansing and regeneration has to happen continuously, because the topic that we talked about today about reintegrating fragments of our soul, we're constantly moving and changing our frequency. If our partner is not moving and changing their frequency as well, you're going to be pulling up and realigning to their frequency, and it might be out of alignment with you. Okay, so just know, of course, we are matching in frequencies, especially if we spend a lot of time with the people we live with. We are aligning to those frequencies. So we have to become very aware of what we're pulling in and what we're putting out. But I'm going to do a whole video on that separately, Jewel, because it's a lot to talk about. Thank you for that question. Ivan, Vibrational Energy, thanks so much for being here. Very helpful. You're welcome. Ivan, are there epigenetic tags directing chairs? Absolutely. Epigenetic tags, absolutely. And so this goes into the whole aspect of holographic DNA and how we store information in the DNA. And I'll do a separate video on that. And I have talked about it on other ones. Also at the conference at UFOCon, I talked all about holographic DNA and how we are, you know, referencing the information that is in our DNA and expressing it. How that information comes up, how it feeds up into our current expression and the things that we're experiencing now. So deprogram has to really address those, and it does. When we deprogram, we are going back to those experiences, becoming aware of what happens, so on and so forth. That is an opportunity to change the program that we are running in the back end. Okay, Cindy, regarding the cleansing of energy after sexual intimacy, what about when you're married for 18 years? Yeah, I kind of answered that, but I'm going to do a whole video on that, Cindy. Still have to cleanse every time? Yes, we do. Again, because we're constantly moving. Some of you are really working spiritually. Sometimes our partner isn't. Or sometimes they are, but if someone, for example, hasn't processed an emotion fully or a trauma fully, they're going to be vibrating at that vibrational frequency, and so it's going to highlight any aspect within us that matches that vibrational frequency. So we're going to pull it up within us, and you know, so it's really nice when partners are aligned with healing and with ascension or becoming aware. You know, ascension is such a cliche word. Just becoming conscious. They can move together. But when one partner is not, then it kind of falls behind. And then, of course, there's always friction there that has to be readdressed. But anyway, those relationships are meant for the work that they're in. So there's nothing that is wrong or out of alignment with those relationships. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Love you. Have an amazing day. Enjoy the beautiful day. And don't forget, stay present and in the conscious. Don't watch TV. Don't listen to anything, radios, whatever it is. Pull yourself away. Let's do, what is it called? Technology detox. Okay. Technology detox. Really going to help you guys. All my love. Bye.